Ever get the feeling you're being watched online? It's data brokers. They collect your personal info, your browsing habits, where you live, and who you're related to, and then sell it to the highest bidder. Aura helps stop that. Aura automatically removes your personal info from data broker sites and keeps it off. It also monitors the dark web, protects your devices, alerts you to real-time threats, and more. Start your free trial at aura.com/listen. That's AURA.com/listen for your free trial.
If you love entertainment, current events, and Hollywood, don't miss Creator to Creators, hosted by the filmmaker Meosha, known for the Shudder hit documentary Horror Noir and the acclaimed film Anatomy of an Anti-Hero, Redemption. This show features interviews with filmmakers and creatives from around the globe. Join the fun with guest celebrities and gain valuable insights. Subscribe now and follow Creator to Creators.
Hi guys, welcome to another episode of Creators to Creators. Today we have a special guest.
Zaid Abdulqadir.
Wow, what a beautiful name.
Thank you.
What does that mean?
So Zaid, if you go to the Arabic, means master or lord, like
Nice.
Saeed. And then Abdulqadir means servant of the most powerful or the most able.
Wow, I love that.
Thank you.
I feel that names are, have whole power, and I feel that I think names are very special. I feel like names, can either they are you are your name. So that is wow, speaks for itself. So
Yeah, that's right.
so tell me a little bit about, I love going back to the beginning. I always say the beginning kind of charts our trajectory in life, like where we're going, and kind of our little decisions that we make when we're in our childhood kind of, goes into our future. So tell me a little bit about the process of growing up. What was that like? And kind of how did you find your way into, creating the creative world?
I'll give you the short answer to that. So to get out of the chaotic world, I go to books, I go to movies, I go to music. So for me, I grew up in New Jersey,
Nice.
and the place I was living in, it was the projects, poor neighborhood. But in order for me to escape, because I wasn't your typical neighborhood kid, I wasn't into the streets, I wasn't into the drug life. I was a nerd. So being a nerd in the hood, you get beat up a lot, especially if you wear glasses, especially if you're chunky, especially if you're light skinned. So I had to escape. And I didn't have no money for no bus or train ride or whatever. So I escaped to books and movies.
Mhm.
And that evolved into writing. Mhm.
So when you were growing up and getting into writing, what kind of writing did you like to do? The genre?
My go-to was fantasy and sci-fi and then westerns.
Nice.
In that order. Mainly because, as a kid, my favorite movie as a kid was Never Ending Story
Nice.
and Star Wars, and then eventually became Matrix and stuff like that. But I really related to Never Ending Story because the character and the story, I related to him too much. It's just, even though he was a white, I'm black, the stories kind of intermingled. He lost his parent, I lost mine. He was bullied at school, so was I. He escaped in books, so did I. And then he was reading the book, he was really reading about himself. And that's what I see when I watch a movie, when I read a book, and it just correlated. So when it came to Western, I always appreciated the cowboy because back then they didn't have a lot of rules in the Wild West. It was kind of like find a place to live, build your house, that's it. And I always gravitated towards that because Julius Byrne, Back to the Future 3, when Doc Brown went to the past, he felt he was himself there compared to 1985. I like that. as well. So I saw myself in the eyes of those characters because I always wanted to be in the Wild Wild West. I always wanted to be in
Mm,
space. I always wanted to be in a place called Fantasia.
mm.
So it's very interesting to see those type of works that came from a person's mind to a piece of paper to being into movies. So I wanted to, I guess, be on the line of others that do the same thing.
I love that. No, I think that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
So, you know, you're in New Jersey and you're writing. Did you find kind of your tribe, people that, were around you that kind of like that, write too, or was that something later on, like as you got older, that you found like, oh, there's other people that write and do things like this too?
Unfortunately, the people that I associated myself with then, um, they're in the same place they were 20, 30 years ago.
Oh, I see.
So,
Hmm.
so as I got older, to embrace to answer your question, it's easier to play dumb while being smart than try to be smart while being dumb.
Gotcha.
So so I had to play the dumb card just to survive. And then when I
Mm.
and then when I got into a space where I moved to Los Angeles for a few years, I ran into a couple writers out there, and I started becoming what I am now, more open and honest about me being a nerd of movie culture, antiquity, um, and fantasy and sci-fi, because I didn't know that existed
Hmm.
until I moved to LA, till I moved to different places. So
When did you leave
uh,
New
I
Jersey?
left, was it 2001?
Nice.
And I was in LA from 2001 to probably like 2009, around that time. And
Nice.
I picked up a lot of information there. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's interesting, I understand the meaning and I totally completely feel that because I myself growing up in Florida,
Hmm.
you know, a lot of people that end up staying there, usually kind of the natural progression is to like get married, have kids, do the whole thing, and like kind of
Yeah.
that's it.
Yeah.
And I
That's right.
never, and nothing against that. I think that's great, but I just never related to that world. And
Yeah.
I was
That's right.
very much a different person. So I was always I knew I was different way back when. So I think I completely understand what you mean. It was like I never really actually fit in there, like
Hmm.
this the area.
Hmm.
So,
That's right. That's
same
right.
thing. I got out, got older, and I figured out a way to get out of there.
Yeah.
Because I think if I stayed, I would never have been who I am now today.
Yeah. Because being a creative person, um, and there's many shades of a creative person, but
Hmm.
we're all hippies of some regard. So
Right.
we have to explore, we have to understand, we have to try to implement our experiences into our own daily life. If you're a spiritual person, you're going to try to apply that. If you're a very intellectually sound person, you're going to try to apply that. But once you start finding people that think like you think, it kind
Hmm.
of makes you stronger as a person, regardless if you're black or white or Latino, it doesn't really matter. It's about like minds. Like they say,
Hmm.
hurt people, like
Yeah.
minds.
Yeah.
So, and when you find your tribe of people, the more enlightened I become. I mean, the road gets lonelier and lonelier higher I go, but I've always run into a select few people that understand what I'm talking about, and it's a
Hmm.
vibe every time.
Hmm. Hmm.
Hmm.
And I think it's very important, like you said, it's very important to be around people that are like-minded because it also like strengthens you. It helps
Yes,
you you know work at your potential, your higher self, because it's like the same thing of like how they say if you want to be famous or you want to be rich or whatever, you have
yeah,
to be around somebody that knows more or is already there, right?
yeah,
Because I mean,
that's
what
right.
can you learn from somebody who doesn't have it?
That's right.
So
That's right. That's right. That's right.
um
That's right.
you went to the Mecca of LA. So what was Los Angeles like for you? You learned so much. How did you find, like, people say, you get there and you know what I mean? And it's like, how do you like what was the first thing you did? Because knowing no one, right? Like you just had
Hmm.
to figure it out.
Yeah. So no plans. The relationship I had with my family was tumultuous. So I decided to take a bus, take a plane, wash some dishes,
Mm-hmm.
take another bus, you know, hit some rides. I did it real old school um at that time. And then when I got there, first thing I did was try to look for a place to live.
Mm.
I only had I had 2 pennies to put together, but that's about it, literally. So
Mm-hmm.
I spent most of my time in Santa Monica Beach, hiding underneath the
Mm.
pier and just sleeping there for a few. And then eventually I was able to get some money because I'm an artist as well. I used to draw cartoons on the Venice Beach boardwalk.
Okay. Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I used to make
Yeah.
a hustle. I used to, I ain't gonna, well, I mean, statute of limitations is over, but I used to steal some stuff to to get my stuff going. And
Yeah.
to draw people's as a cartoon, and I was able to get enough money to get a hostel, and then from a hostel, I was able to get an apartment, roommates, the whole shebang. And
Wow.
then
Nice.
yeah, so then I took all those experiences and I just try to translate that into writing. I just changed the
Mm.
names around, keep the same story plot, just change the names around. If the male, if it's a male, then make it a female.
Mm-hmm.
You know, or if certain names had certain dialogues, I would could connect that to something that means something different. Hmm.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
Yeah.
I
Hmm.
love that hustle mentality of like, you're never gonna let something or circumstances bring you down. I think, this creative world, in this field, it's necessary to have that kind of personality because, if you're weak-minded, it's definitely not for the weak.
No, LA is if you're not a hustler or a millionaire, you're not gonna survive in LA.
Right,
You just
exactly.
you're not gonna survive in New York because I'm from Jersey, so New York is the rent alone is crazy.
Yeah.
So,
Even now, right,
but
it's insane, huh?
whoo, man, the homeless population has increased. So,
Mm-hmm.
and that's just because, and when you run into these people in Skid Row, you start realizing how brilliant they are. They just made one bad choice, and
Yes.
that just kind of just went on a decline for them living in a tent.
Mm-hmm.
But
Oh yeah.
I met many people because when I was homeless out there, I met doctors, physicists, PhDs, and they were just in the tent
Mm-hmm.
doing mathematical equations. I'm like, yo, what's going on here? Like, yeah, one slip, and then
Yeah.
it just,
And that's
yeah,
it.
yeah,
And it's like, and yeah, I remember, gosh, I totally I remember after I left Florida and moved to Colorado, then I moved to California.
hmm,
Man, you're right. It has changed even after COVID. I think it's just rampant even more. Like it's
oh
just
yeah,
gas
oh yeah,
prices. But I think overall too, a lot of things are just has changed as far as like um things, and it's I used to believe that for so long that you had to stay in the big cities in order
yeah,
to be creative. And that's actually not true. It's kind of what
hmm,
Jay-Z
hmm,
said, if I can make it here, I can make it anywhere, which is true. You can take the sand to the beach, and you can do all that. You can make whatever it is you're trying to do happen anywhere. And I think I learned that after COVID. I actually figured out like, especially spending like 13 plus years,
hmm,
in California, it's like I can go
yeah,
somewhere else and actually save money and still be in California. Do you know what I mean?
yeah,
And never
that's right, that's
actually
right.
just have to think this is the end all be all.
Well, that's the propaganda they tell you because they figured, Hollywood, lights, camera, Hollywood Boulevard and Vine and Sunset. They're not that. It's the strip's probably 3, 4 blocks,
Right.
if that. So when you go there, you're thinking, wow, I'm in Hollywood, but it's like 3 blocks. It's like going to Vegas. Vegas Strip is like a mile, maybe.
Hmm.
So it's like, but once you get past the red tape and the peeling back the onion, you start realizing, okay, what am I really doing here? And
Hmm.
that's where you have to just find your place because I'm a very obscure guy. So the stuff that I do, I typically just do. I was ghostwriting for many years in Hollywood.
Nice.
So what I would do is I would just if I had someone who wanted me to write a B script or a movie going straight to DVD, I mean, they wasn't paying no money, but it got my writing juices flowing to
Mm-hmm.
make it sound legible, plausible, believable.
Mm-hmm.
Most of it was typically drama, but I was really looking for that sci-fi fantasy epic. But I had probably one or two of them, but it
Mm-hmm.
wasn't. It was mostly drama or action,
Yeah.
which is fine. But I'm more of a sci-fi epic, like let my mind expand to things that doesn't even the mind can't even conceive. And there's a lot of people that's doing the same thing. But when you run into a vibe of people who's a comedy actor, who's an action writer, who's a drama, and it's like, man, I didn't see it from that perspective. And then you kind of garner from their experiences, and you start thinking, well, if I had my experiences with their experiences, I can make a movie out of this,
Right.
or I can make a book out of this. Okay. And then that's how I start viewing Hollywood.
Mm-hmm.
It is a magical place because you don't know who you're gonna run into. But
Right. Mm-hmm.
once you start, man, time don't exist. You just vibing and figuring it out. And that's what I'm doing. That's what I'm doing the entire time I was there. Yeah.
That's amazing. So let's get into the book that you had, that this project that you have.
Mhm.
Tell me a little bit about the title, and
Mhm.
also where did it, like, the inspiration come from?
Well, the name of the book is called Tyreek's Epic Adventures. It's a children's series that I'm trying to promote through GoFundMe. The goal is $8,000, and it's to bring it to light. Um, I'm trying to, well, the source where I got it from, I go back to what I said originally, it was Never Ending Story.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Dune. Um, so pretty much the story is about Tariq. Tariq, in Arabic means path. Most
Mm-hmm.
people don't know that, but that's what Tariq is. But for Black people, Tariq is a typical known name in the Black community. So Tariq is a known name. So I chose that because I wanted to have social relevancy towards Black community. Also, I wanted to have social relevancy towards people who love medieval times because this takes place in medieval times.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a story about a boy who is trying to find his place in the world. He was born of a miraculous birth of a barren mother, and um, he's special. And what makes his journey epic is because he's trying to find his place in the world because he doesn't know he's the one who's going to change the world
Mm-hmm.
completely. He's going to shift the world. His father's a king, his mother is a queen. He's a prince, and he was not supposed to be born, but that happened between the mother and the father, and his father is kidnapped, and he feel like it's his due right to as man of the house to find his father and not tell his mother anything. So I put it in a children's form because I wanted to, because it's animated in the sense that the cartoons look very Disneyfied, and I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to make it simple for the average person to understand. But there's many layers to the story, um, because on surface it makes perfect sense as to why he's doing this, but on the esoteric side, it's
Mm-hmm.
actually a lot deeper than that. But for those, it's mainly for kids, but for adults, if you read with your third eye, you're gonna see some elements into the story that kids probably wouldn't see, which is the idea. Hmm.
I like that. I like that.
Hmm.
Um, I mean, I really love the animation. I mean, very cool. It's
Thank you.
I love it.
Thank you.
Very different, and it just look, and it's interesting because it's like, yeah, it's for kids, but also, like you said, if for like adults too, it's like these other things that we're also both learning in a way.
Yeah,
And
that's
I
right.
think that's always great that um and so when you came up with this concept, and tell me, like, as far as like the process of developing the characters, you said it's something like, is you drawn from like your experience, your life experiences, and you put them into as well is in this story. um
That's right. Mhm.
was it what was that, was it hard? Because like for me, I would think that the process when you're going back to certain things of the past that
Mhm.
is related to your life, but you're implementing into this project, into this, what were there tough times or things like to write, or was it just easy flowing to come up with all the things? And are you okay with confronting trauma, past trauma?
Well, that's the reason I did it, because it's therapeutic. So
Gotcha.
I did it for many reasons. I took all that I encompassed from what I've read to what I've been through, and I put it into this children's series.
Gotcha.
And what people appreciate the journey rather than the actual end of the journey, because you get to laugh about it because you realize, wow, I actually did this. So I wanted to make it fantastical because I said that he was born of a miraculous birth. Well, if you know some stories, how many times you heard a miraculous birth from a barren
Mm-hmm.
woman? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I took it from that. And then it's not just him going through this journey. He has friends. There's wizards, there's spiritual people, there's intelligent people, there's people who are just very optimistic. There's a warrior that's with them. There's a pet dragon that's with them.
That's cool.
And this is all symbolic because it all encompasses him. These are
Mm-hmm.
different these are different archetypes that make him who he is, because Tariq means path, like I said, and he's going through a journey. And in order from boy to being a man, he has to go through certain things, and as a child as well as an adult male, like I went through, to get through this thing called life.
Mm-hmm.
And he has to fight the nothingness, which is in Never Ending Story. He has to fight. He is the Atreyu. He is the princess. He is Fantasia. He is all of this is embodiment. This is all him. And I wanted to tell that in a creative way. So I pulled from different stories, different spiritual systems,
Mm-hmm.
my own path, my own experiences. But no one would know that just by reading the story, because that's the whole point. It's
Yeah.
fantasy. Hmm.
I love that. I love that. I have a
Hmm.
fun question. And
Sure.
if you could invite any fictional character to dinner, who would it be?
Fictional character?
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's a few of them.
Ooh.
It's a few of them. Because for me, um, if you're talking from the childhood Zaid, then I would probably invite Sebastian from Never Ending Story.
Love that.
That's the conversation we've had. I always wanted to have since I've seen the movie.
I
If you're
love
talking to if you're talking about adult Zaid, I would probably say Neo from The Matrix.
that's a great converse. I'd like to take Tim to dinner too.
Oh yeah, I like Neo. So how'd you know you was the one, man?
Right. I think we all have that inside of us. We all
Hmm.
have the one we have the capacity or the wherewithal to be the one, but
Hmm.
I think it's just unlocking that potential and knowing that it is already inside. Because if you think about it, like, what does that scripture say? Many are called, but few are chosen. But I think a lot of people
That's
don't
right.
pick up the call and accept it. I think
Which is
like,
funny.
mhm,
Which is funny because Sophia Stewart, who was creator of The Matrix, a black woman from New York, she
yeah,
wrote The Matrix and Terminator. She said that that's why that see, like I said, you got the surface and you got the esoteric.
right,
The behind the meaning of Neo is you can be Neo.
right.
But if you don't choose to be Neo, then you could be Morpheus, you could be Trinity, you could be Cypher, you could be Mouse, you could be Tank. These are the choices. But the potential is Neo, the one.
Yeah.
So, and that's what I saw when I made this. So, and many, like you said before, scripture does say that. So that's why I love that movie so much, because it's so deep. Every time
Yeah.
you watch it, you learn a new jewel that you didn't see before.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Yeah. And I think that's brilliant artistry.
Mm, mm,
Um,
mm, mm,
so
mm, mm.
um w- tell me, so you're trying to raise $8,000 to GoFundMe. So where can people go to donate to the GoFundMe?
So my social media handle is Zaid Abdulqadir 81 on Instagram. You can go there.
Okay.
I have a link in the bio. You can just click the link, make it easy. I'm always posting it on my stories and stuff like that.
Okay.
Um, I think on Facebook it's facebook.com/immaculate one, and the link is in the bios as that as well.
Okay.
Um,
Perfect.
if anything, um, if people still have have time, I mean, if you don't mind,
Mhm.
you could put a link in your
Oh
description
yeah, for
box.
sure. Yeah, we'll make sure to have that under every episode, the links to your Facebook and Instagram so and to the actual direct GoFundMe page so they can go directly there to support everything you got going on for sure.
Yeah, and I try to the goal is the 8,000, and it's just really going to the illustrators and the self-publishing and distribution really. I mean,
Absolutely.
it's not cheap, but in order to get this information out, I gotta do interviews, I gotta talk to people, I gotta make this thing happen. I'm trying to make my dreams come true. So that's the
Absolutely.
goal.
Absolutely.
Hmm.
Have you been to Comic-Con? Have you
Of
Okay. Yeah. There's
course.
a bunch of people that are connecting with other comics and
Hmm.
artists that way too. I actually I met a few of them on when just going there. They're like, hey, if you ever have something, let me know. I'm like, okay, cool. If I ever get into that game of comic book world,
Yeah.
definitely do it.
The thing about Comic Con is that it's cosplay
Mm-hmm.
and everybody. It's just a bastion of nerdom. So that's the best way I could describe it because it's just like a music concert. If this guy's racist and this guy's black or whatever, they're actually like the same music. That don't matter no more. They're there because of the vibe.
Hmm.
So Comic Con's no different. Comic Con, you get to dress and act how you really feel inside, and no one's going to judge you for it. Now, of course, there's going to be some people that's going to, compete about who has the best costume, but that's competition. That's ego. That's all that is. But
Hmm.
I enjoy myself every time I go there because we talking about stuff that matters only to those who really study films or
Hmm.
study comics or whatever. So I love those. Yeah.
I like that. That's cool.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, thank you so much for coming on.
Hmm.
I mean, it's crazy how fast 20 minutes goes by. This was a really good conversation.
I appreciate
Um,
this.
yeah, no, thank you. And thank you all for listening. And always remember to live, love, laugh. We'll see you guys next time. And thank you again for coming on. It was a pleasure.
Likewise. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye bye.